All right, so our special guest today for me is a unicorn. I haven't met another Kiwi entrepreneur at the level of this man that's doing really cool stuff for New Zealand and the rest of the world. And I found him here in New Zealand. This is Olly Wood. Olly, please introduce yourself and tell us about the name first.
Yeah, no, Ollie's my real name. Oliver, if I'm in trouble, but Olly is my name. Meta really came from what it means is a high level of self-awareness, right? And really diving into all of these components of health, looking at health as rather than narrow-mindedly through the diet you need to follow or the training plan you need to do. It's ultimately looking at what's your sweet spot in regards to stress you can handle and how do we build that level up. So we're building your body up rather than breaking it down. That's the overall goal. And it sounds really complicated, but all it comes down to is we know mindset's a big part of physical change. We know nutrition, sleep, training are all components of getting your body back on your side. And if one of those pillars is not there, things are going to not function like they used to, and they all should work together. So why are we looking at a personal trainer or a nutritionist separate? We're trying to make sure we have all those smart minds in one room. And I guess the challenge of that is having all those smart minds in one room. And what we've been able to do with the Meta Project is being able to give you access to specialists in all of those areas. So you're not just relying on one coach, you're looking at these components of specialists knowing their stuff, but being able to integrate that with your overall plan. And whether you work with us individually or whether you look at building your health by yourself, the component or conversation around looking at the stresses of that are getting in the way of health and looking at that as a much bigger component of change, just allow you to work with your body and have a level of self-love and self-respect in that there, because we're not just trying to hammer for more discipline, we're using more willpower, we're looking at this process of fueling change. And if that happens, it's going to be a lot more sustainable, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable, and that's what we're all about.
And that's awesome. And see, I get that mindset because I came from the military. And then we arrive at where we are now when we come to someone like yourself, Olly, who gets this, obviously, and we'll talk about your story in a moment. You get all those components, but you understand that key concept of creating the space, put the person in the middle, and have that complete team of experts. I almost killed myself, people. I thought I'd just go back to my old military training. I'm 47 now, 48 this year. And I was last in the military. I got out of the military when I was 28. Well, 23. I got out of the military when I was 23 and I joined cops. So I go back to my 23-year-old mindset of these are the exercises I need to, 23-year-old knowledge. And I apply a 47-year-old mindset to it, which means I can do anything, right, Olly? I can force myself to do anything. I can make myself lift what I want, do what I want. So I'm tough. But then I start eating what I used to eat when I was 23. I'm smashing almost a dozen eggs a day, press ups, sit ups, chin ups. And my doctor calls me and says, Dion, you've tripled your cholesterol and you're going to give yourself a heart attack. I'm like, what? I'm just doing what? He's like, dude, you're 47. You're not 23 anymore. So I was like, huh. And then dealing with some of the bloating, man boobs, all that other sort of stuff when you're sort of getting up to this age, having a strong mindset and having the knowledge of physical exercise, I'm lacking in one of those pillars and understanding to the degree what's happening inside my body. So your advertising dialed into that. Then we went, oh, who's this guy? And then when I started looking at what you did, the competency is there. You got a massive team, bro. You're super successful. You're doing awesome. And you're getting awesome results. And then I just want to know the motive. Is this the right human being to bring into the Line Academy with it?
I think it has to start with that initial hitting the brick wall moment and going through that process of like, why is this not working? And I did start in a gym as a personal trainer, going through that as being, if I use your Kiwiness term, just being like, I'm going to be the best at this. I'm going to be as competitive as possible. And I hired a coach many coaches in that space to be as good as possible in exercise, movement, progression, all of the stuff that you master when you're looking at workouts, and quite military about it, because it was trying to make sure that when you're in the gym, we're going to focus on this. We're not going to talk about the weekends, and we're going to master movement. And that works with a very small population of the world. But taking the time to look at when you master that and you start seeing 5% of people change, even though they're mastering movement, they're getting stronger, they're coming in 3 times a week, what's not working, right? And as you start to work with higher and higher level clients, you start to notice that there's stress, there's inflammation, this lack of being able to fit them back into the day is destroying their ability to have any progress in the first place, right? And it's the 20-year-old mindset in a 50-year-old body that can really start to get in the way because you're crushing it in the gym. Like, well done for being able to lift that much, but you're not seeing the results anymore. And going through that process of discovery of like, what else can we take into play? It went from being 100% training to being 80% training and 20% nutrition to 50% training to 50%, lifestyle design, like looking at how we fit you back into your day. And there were days where a client would walk through the door and they just had a big meeting, with as a CEO to talking to their main people, and I would sit them down in the corner and put my headphones on them and get them to do a 10-minute meditation, or we'd walk out the gym and go for a 20-minute walk around the block before we started anything. But all I was trying to do is discover, how was I going to get this person moving forward? Because more effort is clearly not the answer, right? And trying to work towards the best version of you at 50 rather than the old version of you at 20 that you're never going to get back requires a very different change. So I dove much, much deeper into this gut health component. At the same time, I was going through the same process of, I was training really well, but the stress component meant I was getting zero results and my gut issues were starting to get worse and worse. And because I was going through a couple of bodybuilding shows at the time, I was getting down to very lean levels of body fat. You start to notice that just eating less, training harder, your body going through an immense amount of stress has to be something you address as well. So this kind of combined together for my brick wall moment to how we go through that process of building out that space. But as you know, if you learn anything, you realize the more you learn, the more you don't know. So going through that process and being able to be competent in all those areas is not really possible in one lifetime. So collection of bringing in the people that could really help me with that space, having our clinical nutritionists, having our mindset coaches, and diving into the exercise aspect really allowed us to look at the bigger picture of, okay, if we're going to help this person truly move forward, I can't just tell you to go to a nutritionist so you can eat less. I need to tell you to sort out your mindset. I need to look at how we can bring that to a full approach of how does your training affect your nutrition? Because it's massive, right? And then looking at mental change has to happen before physical, right? And looking at these aspects of all of that just is what really came to become the Meta Project, because it was looking at the bigger holistic change of moving forward long-term and enjoying the damn thing rather than coming in for a 6-week program and thinking that just, yeah, and you see it all the time, right? All right, I'm ready to do it this time. Let's crush it. I'm going to not eat anything I don't like. It sucks. It's working. Good luck making that last, right? Yeah. If I'm going into the situation and I'm feeling amazing off the foods, my energy's way better. Just got off a call with someone who was putting a trailer on the back and plugging in the socket and putting on the little hook. And he's like, I got up and I was still breathing fine. I wasn't puffing. And I was like, this is what life should feel like, right? Yeah. And it's just those little moments, those little pats on the back that you're giving yourself, by the way, because it's an intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic. We're starting to see those improvements, to see a lifestyle change and find a new version of you. And that's what gets me up every day.
There's effort involved, Olly. There's sacrifice involved, but it doesn't have to have that whole attachment to pain with it. That's what we're programmed to stay away from. Mm-hmm. So if we can get a result through an enjoyable process, that requires effort. That requires sacrifice and those sorts of things without having this negative attachment to pain or a negative feeling on your body to actually get the result that you want. This is not about a diet. Let's talk to me about diet, the word and the understanding and what you guys do.
Sure. Yeah. So the diet, a diet is what people eat, right? So that component is there, but what people attach when they say diet is what I want to lean into a little bit more. And it's this concept of needing it to be a short-term thing that elicits some sort of result. Why can't it be a long-term thing that elicits a result, right? And taking the time to look at where we start, as you mentioned, diving into training before we've fueled the body to get ready for change is like running on fumes, and we're not in a position to see improvements long-term because we're working off borrowed time. So taking the time to build a new foundation, it's a classic building a house on stilts example, because we're not taking the time to figure out what's going on. So the easiest way to look at diet is ultimately making sure, one of the best distinctions I think would be looking at fuel, don't starve. And I think that's, if we look at all the complex things we could dive into, how are we fueling the body, not starving the body? Because if we're living in the Western world, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, America, anywhere where we've got this processed food issue, what is really happening from there is that we're over consuming, yes, but we're undernourished at the same time. Right? So the classic Pringles effect, that we eat more food, we could be eating a huge amount of food, but our body's like, well, I still don't have enough zinc and I don't have enough copper, and all of these foods are not there. So I'm just going to keep eating until I get the nutrients I need to actually function. Right? So although we're over consuming, our brains are not telling us that we're full, because it's completely undernourished and not able to function at the level we should. So we have brain fog, we feel fatigued, we're not getting good sleep, we forget where we put our keys or whatever it might be. And it's looking at that component of fueling the body again. Yeah. Yep. And trying to look at that allows us to just understand whole foods is a really nice foundation to look at. It's not sexy, it's not a diet, but it is ultimately a way of looking at food a little bit differently, counting calories, not nutrients. And if we can look at that as a really nice foundation of simplifying food, then that's step one. That has to be step one, because if you're not eating real food and you can't pronounce the three letters, the numbers and letters on the back of that ingredients list, your body's not able to break it down. If it's foreign to you, it's foreign to your body, which means it's not going to break it down. It's going to be inflammatory to that gut as well. So that's where we can really dive a bit deeper, and we can look at all sorts of fancy things. But if you're not starting with a foundation of whole foods versus the processed stuff, then you run into issues. So I just had this chat with someone just before as well, is going from alcohol in the afternoon. We're in this perpetual loop of using caffeine to wake up in the morning or using alcohol to calm down, right? And it just gets worse. So taking the time to break that cycle is not a case of just removing all the things and requiring discipline. It's, well, we're looking at this thing because we want to relax at the end of the day. So what can we replace as a habit or a thing to fill that time? Is it that we simply move it for a soda or a whatever drink that's not going to be alcoholic for us to calm down at the end of the day? Is it going to be that we're actually looking at relaxing, which is now we can look at going for a walk or doing a quick stretch or spending some time with kids? Hey, that might be helpful, right? Yep. But now we're looking at the bigger picture of health. Human connection is huge. So trying to take the time at understanding how that body works, what our body's really after, through either trying to relax at the end of the day or the nutrients that we're missing, will start to really subside a lot of the energy deficits, a lot of the nutrient deficiencies that are coming through, and ultimately build up that foundation that now allows us to look at exercise or seeing our body change.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to note that down, because we've got Farmers for Farmers mental health. I'm always dealing with farmers. So hydrating for farmers, shockers, eh?
Always. Just thick blood, it's making it so much harder, and they look healthy on the outside and then they fall over one day, right? It's really, really tough when we start to see people that look fit on the outside and then there's nothing happening to look after the body on the inside. And this is, a big part of looking at deeper health is, what do you need to focus on? Clearly you're fit, but what's happening to make sure that you are actually okay and that your body's feeling good, your mind's good, to look at that long term. And simple things like hydration or missing out, those small things can make a really big difference. So yeah, looking at the bigger picture, you're nailing training, great, but what else can you learn? I think, you having that open mind to bring me into your world, and for people to listen to this as well, that's the kind of stuff that allows you to really grow as a human and enjoy your life at a new level, or just make it longer so you stick around to enjoy it with your kids.